Good day and welcome back to another episode of the Air Force podcast. My name is Yaku and today we've got Denis with us. Denis, you have said to me previously you have started about how many businesses it was, almost 40 businesses of your own you have started. So welcome and thanks a lot for being here. And will you please give me insights into why you started all of that businesses? And you said 40. Please tell me about that.
40 was, when you do that thumb suck number, Yaku,
Yeah.
that probably was that number. So thank you for having me
Okay.
here. I suppose the most important thing is to say that I've never worked for anyone else. So
Okay.
from the age of 17, my brother and I actually purchased our first business, which was a steers outlet, and I'm now 46. So it's been 29 years in creating my own income. So, not having a set salary, not knowing what that's like. But really, I kind of like building especially stuff that's never been done before. Quite often people talk about their ideas. I like to talk and do. So, I'll implement the idea that I talk about quite often. But I can give you a huge history if you want to know backwards in terms of why.
Definitely.
I think the most important thing was my father went bankrupt when I was 12 years old. And we didn't ever have a lot of money, but we had gone from, like Greek families used to live in Hillbrow and Yeovil in those days, and blocks of flats. Like that's where we stayed. Most of the sort of poorer Mediterraneans, for want of a better word. We were never poor, but we didn't have huge income. And then we moved to Alberton and we had like a nice house and a swimming pool and it was quite a thing. And I was in grade 1, grade 2, and then boom, we lost everything. So it was an interesting experience for me. My father sat me down and he said to me, "You will never work for anyone. You will always work for yourself." And that gave me an element of confidence from a very early age to be able to go do whatever I wanted to do. So from age 13, I waited between 4 and 6 days a week while still attending school. I helped support my family because we were where we were. And by age 17 and a half, I'd saved up a small portion of money. My brother got out of the Air Force and we bought our first steers outlet, which was in Randburg at that stage. Now, just to be clear, we didn't have all the money for the steers outlet. This shop was losing 5,000 Rand a month. It was for sale for 250,000 Rand in those days, which is still an obscene amount of money. We could get 50,000 Rand between the two of us. And my brother goes to the guy and he says to him, "Listen, we've got 50,000 Rand. We'll give you the 50,000 Rand and we'll pay you 5,000 Rand a month to take this shop over. If we miss
And
one
that is
payment..."
while they have been making losses of 5,000 Rand each month.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
so that is
So
a proposal
now,
you give.
exactly. So
Okay.
we went to them and we said, "We'll pay you 5,000 Rand a month. And if we miss one payment, you take your shop back and you keep the 50,000 Rand in any payments that we made for you." So essentially from day one, we were minus 10,000 Rand because we had to find 5,000 Rand to pay a monthly and 5,000 Rand backwards. So he thought it was going to be the easiest money he's ever made. It was not. We managed to pay him for the store. We literally tripled to quadrupled the price of the store in a short period of time. We didn't really know what we were doing, but I think that was quite a benefit in terms of that. Like we just worked hard, looked after our customers, and I think any business, that's a really good lesson, regardless of how much you know in the business. If you just listen to your customers, if you deal with them on a daily basis, they really can give you huge insights as to where to go, what to do. So that's the beginning. Then the very short story after that is we sold that shop. We bought the second busiest steers in the country. It was a 24-hour outlet. I had about 75 staff at the age of 19. We had no keys to that shop. We bought it without keys. Like we never locked the doors.
So it was
It
always open, as you said,
always
24/7.
open. It was in the middle of town in Durban. It was Nigerians, prostitutes, drug dealers. It was a very, very interesting business. And to this day, if I'm ever really struggling in life, I think back to that moment and I go, shit, it could be this again. I lived on vitamin B injections, cigarettes, and Diet Cokes in those days because they had the most caffeine. So it had the most caffeine inside it. So that's literally how I lived through that period. The council had double-decker buses, which were called the rickshaw bus. I approached them. I started running them. By age 21, I was buying buses from Johannesburg, fixing them in Natal, selling them in all over the country. I managed to sell 5 buses, Play Energy Drink, Gold Circle Play Energy Drink, which is quite weird, actually, if you
Yeah,
think about it.
actually, yeah. It's
Gold
ironic.
Circle Racing. But try in those days, there was no social media. Emails were like really just starting. It's like, what the fuck is an email, and you'd have to phone the secretary of a company and go, hi, would you like to buy a double-decker bus? And they'd be like, what? I'm like, who do I speak to about buying a double-decker bus? And they'd be like, what? And they'd always put me through to the marketing department. I'd be like, here's the marketing department. Like, okay. Cut a very long story short, I had no idea how to sell double-decker buses. I learned how to sell double-decker buses. And that went really well. It was actually a very fun business. I would do booze cruises and that type of stuff. Opened a coffee shop in Lucia, did really well, was bought out by the landlord, got into a furniture factory at the age of 28, top-end furniture, hand-carved, mortise and tenon joints, stuff in the middle of Zimbali, Mentone Road, like proper stuff. I also had a soap shop called Fresh, which I'd opened at Gateway. I was chairman of the tenants committee at Gateway and Lucia at the same time. All landlords hated me at that stage. I probably wanted posters of Denis on their wall because I was just causing shit, was really the story. And then I lost everything at 28. Everything, literally. It's a fairly simple story. We couldn't produce quickly enough to make money. We could sell a dining room table for 100,000 Rand, but that dining room table could take a year of an old Italian guy carving it in the corner. And by the time you've actually delivered it, you got no money. So we were all jointly and severably liable. Ended up 2 million Rand in debt of everything that I'd made. Was known as a fairly decent operator. So a guy who owned nightclubs at that stage. He'd owned Bourbon Street, Night Fever, and what you might know, Tiger. His name is Guy. He approached me. He said, you move to Joburg. I'll write the checks. You go open the nightclub in Joburg. Luckily, my name, which is another good lesson here, from my father, he said, never fuck your name up, ever. And what that means for me is always hold my head up high. Always be able to speak to everybody, regardless of whether I'd owed them money, not owed them money. So I've never had a judgment in my name. I've never done the sequestration or the liquidation, which other guys use as just like a calling card. They'll go and just do it, and then start again in a new entity. So yeah, the nightclub made lots of money. It paid all my debt off in 2 years. I then started the coffee company, which is called State 5. 18 years ago, spare room of my house with 2 boxes of coffee. I remember my mates walking inside and going, it was 20 grand, I think, was all the money I had. And my mate walks into the room and I got 2 boxes of coffee and my laptop. And he's like, what are you doing, bro? I've started a coffee business. He laughs at me. He's like, is that a coffee business? I'm like, yeah, it's a coffee business. And that business has been the best and worst thing that could ever happen to me. It has been so hard. It's probably one of the most competitive industries on the planet. But it's also made me cut my teeth in learning how to cold call correctly, how to build a brand correctly, how to be in an unbelievably competitive space and trying to define yourself and be different. In that coffee business, we've had a franchising company. We had about 35 outlets, which were little coffee trailers. I've probably owned over 10, 15 coffee shops. I'm not sure how many that we've had in corporates. We've had in, sort of outlets with kiddies play areas and green sides are all over. We were the first guys in the country to launch cold brewed coffee. We also lost a hell of a lot of money with cold brew coffee, huge lessons in what and how to do things. And all of these things I'm taking and I'm translating into Slayer now, which is obviously my baby and my love. In between that, there have been a whole bunch of businesses, which I can't remember. Or, I've imported notebooks from China. I've, yeah, I can't even remember. I'd have to list them for you and I'll send them to you on an email. But I'm normally fairly decent, if not really quick at being able to build a business to a level where it's profitable. I'm probably one of the, like in my mind, very quick to get it from zero to something. Other people talk, I just put my head down and, get the shit done in principle. That is a very long answer to a short question. And that was me trying to abbreviate it. I apologize.
No, that is actually the perfect answer, or close to the perfect answer. With that
Thank you.
being said, and you mentioned every business you've started, you actually had zero skills in that business. So you had to learn everything by yourself. You had to go through all the mistakes by yourself, and from that you learn, and from all the successes you learn. Uh, how does that contribute to doing a successful business and being successful in starting a business?
Okay, so like in life, there's pros and cons, right? You've got, it's very difficult to have an absolute answer for anything. So definitely not every single business I got into, I didn't know anything. But most of them, when I got into a new industry, I really started at like a zero base. But just to be clear, business is business. There's some very interesting fundamentals that don't change from business to business. How you chase your money, how you do accounts, what your operational structures look like, what does your personal time management look like, what's your human resources like. And what I mean by that is, how do you make people want to jump off the cliff for you just because they feel so much for the brand and they love working for you? So culture, company culture, how do you, that for me is probably one of the most critical things in any of the businesses that I do. Look after the people, build the people, hire people that are smarter than me. When I have the money, initially I have no money. I bootstrap the shit out of these things is how I do it. But when I start getting to a level, I'm very happy to hire smarter than me, because then obviously it's like, in my mind, the sole job of a entrepreneur is to make themselves redundant, to build a business that is able to grow without them. When they've built a business that can grow without them, they've succeeded. Then they can do whatever they want. Then they can do the marketing if that's what they enjoyed. They can do the accounts. They can, I don't know, fly to China and do backflips out of an airplane if they feel like, but whatever, but make themselves redundant. That's the one side. The other side is, eventually I'm going to write a book called Stubbornness, Stupidity, and Perseverance. And the stupidity part is the part we're talking about here. I think sometimes not knowing how hard it could potentially be is a huge contributing and positive factor when you start a business. If I knew how hard many of these things were before I started them, I probably just would have turned tail and run. I'd have been like, no, I'm not doing it, So not knowing has been great. Not knowing if you're willing to learn. Not knowing if you're an egotistical, useless maniac that just knows everything. My sole principle in my life is, the only thing I truly know is I know nothing. Socrates said that. He was a pretty smart guy. He was Greek, way smarter than me, but he said, the only thing I truly know is I know nothing. So when I go into an industry knowing nothing, I can guarantee you that within a month or 2 months of being in that industry, I'm not only competent, I am capable, because I learn quickly. I double down. I take in information. I do whatever I can to be able to learn everything I can about that industry, from the numbers, I don't like market sizes and all these things that bankers talk about. Great. I'm more interested in what speaks to the minds and souls of the individuals to make them want to participate in your business, and that I will, as I'm working my way through the business, I'm going to be learning. I've been in coffee for 18 years. I probably know more about coffee I know more about coffee than anyone you know. I can tell you that for certain. I probably am in the top few in the country in terms of the amount of knowledge I have in coffee. But in my mind, I still know fuck all. Like I know nothing. And I'm still learning on a daily basis new things because the minute my foundation of information changes, one new piece of information changes, it actually changes the whole building of what I am. So it's slightly, with the pros and cons, it's a slightly complicated answer. I think if I could give you a synopsis, in my mind, I think the stupidity aspect is a huge positive. If you're willing to learn, if you're willing to, you've obviously heard fail fast, fail quickly. Don't get hung up on failure. Best thing in the world, and iterate. So fail, do something else. Fail, do something else. That's the best way to learn. I have no problem with failure. In fact, I embrace failure. I know I am one big, huge, useless failure, but I guarantee you, I will work my way through every single failure. When other people will give up, they'll be like, oh, I failed. It was a little difficult. I don't care. Suck it up, buttercup. Get through your shit. Get over it. Go get your stuff done. Do it the way that you should do it. Forget about the failure, take it on the chin, take it as a learning curve, and very quickly get back onto that fucking bike and do it the way that it should be done. So I'm a huge fan of failure. So like not knowing, learning quickly, failing quickly, learning from your failures, iterating, improving on the next one. I don't think there's any better way to build a business.
Okay, that
one
was
last thing.
Okay, continue. Yes.
The one last thing I was going to say was it's not only the not knowing gives you one more huge positive. I attack a problem from a very different way. If I already knew how to do something, I'm probably going to do it in the way I've been taught. So I've gone and I've learned the marketing textbook. I'm going to go attack it the way the marketing textbook taught me. So is another million fucking people. They've all read the same textbook. They're going to do it the same way. Like, what is unique about it? What are you adding to make it different? So for me, even with Slayer, which I'll refer to later, one of the ways that we brainstorm things is we go, what is the stupidest thing we could possibly fucking do? Weird. I know, right? It's not definitely. To do something stupidly. It's to attack a problem from a different angle. Most people are going, what's the best way we can do this? They're sitting around boards, committees, suits and ties in a boardroom. How are we going to market our next energy drink? Oh, I think a great idea. What we'll do is motocross guys, and we'll put them we'll make them fly off cliffs. Be like, yes, like every other doers on the planet. They do the same thing, literally, And we're like, let's do it slightly differently. Let's attack the problem from a different way. And I think what's happened is because we do that all the time, people have attached to our brand and gone, okay, these guys are a little more authentic. So not knowing in this situation, huge benefit of mine, huge.
Okay. And I actually now have a lot more questions after you're answering this question. So first of all, how do you stay on top of maintaining your knowledge, gaining the extra skills? And you mentioned that you know a lot about coffee, but you also mentioned that you know nothing about coffee because there is so much more to learn, so much more to gain knowledge of. And how do you gain extra knowledge? How do you get that extra? Is it only through failure, through learning, through competing in the business? How do you get that extra knowledge?
Cool. Good question. So I read more than any human being should read. So I read a lot. I've read a lot of business books. I read a lot of business books. I read a lot of motivational books. They're cool for me. It works with my vibe. I listen to a ton of podcasts, always in my car. So when people are complaining about traffic and going, traffic's such a problem, I use it as a university. I listen to podcasts. I listen to what other people have done. I learn from what other people have done. And then the other part of it is not having a very open and curious mind. I can't remember. I was watching some program on TV. It was one of these Japanese dating shows or something. And these Japanese people kept on saying, I'm curious, I'm curious, I'm curious. Like it was a word they used all the time. We never fucking use it in the Western society. It's like, I'm curious occasionally, you know? But I think that is
Yeah.
such a beautiful thing if you think about it. I am permanently curious. So that allows my mind to go to places. We have a rule at home. Karen doesn't let me speak until she's had 2 cups of coffee in the morning. It's just the rule, or else people will die, is the story. Because I wake up in the morning and I'm like, love, can you imagine? And she's like, nope, no, hold it, 2 cups of coffee. So in terms of 1, my actions dictate my knowledge. 2, I never become an expert. This is me. Different people do different things. If I did one thing, let's say I was a chartered accountant, I'd probably become an expert in chartered accounting, and I would probably become the best in my field. As an entrepreneur, I don't really have that. I don't have the luxury to have that. I have to be a decent accountant. I have to be a decent marketer. I have to be a decent operational manager. I have to be decent at culture. I have to be all of the above. So I'm very happy to get myself to a level of 70%, 80%, 60%, but above competent and good, and then beat people through action. So just doing, like doing. And by doing, I'll stuff it up or I won't. If I don't stuff it up, I'll double down on it. If I do stuff it up, I'll eliminate it. The whole premise of Slayer is exactly that. We are test and measure everything. Everything. Our whole marketing plan is test and measure. This is our marketing plan. Do whatever the fuck we want. That's our marketing plan. You know? And then we're going to see if it works. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. We'll get rid of it if it doesn't. And we will double down on it if it works. So literally the way I attack my life is how we're attacking this brand currently.
Okay. And now that you said you have to do, and you mentioned it earlier, you have to do, not just think about it, talk about it, but you have to do something about it. How does that contribute to being, I would say, being successful and being successful in business, and not, I would not say not having a plan, but not over analyzing the plan, and yeah, maybe not over analyzing it, and maybe just just do something, just try something instead of doing nothing. How is that contributing to the success?
100%, Yaku. If you think about it, if you give like an exact number, you cannot be successful without doing. How many armchair critics do you see? You know, I'm having a lot of fun on Slayer with people giving me lately advice on you should do this, you should change that. Here's your webpage. Now, I'm very happy to listen. I love it. And I appreciate someone who's more knowledgeable. But I also want to know that you've done it before. And have you done it moderately well to be able to give me the advice if I'm already doing quite nicely? Too often, my biggest bugbear, I have people that I've met and they're like, hey, I have an idea or I have this. And I'm like, what have you done about it? They're like, no, I haven't done anything. I'm like, okay, cool. And then they're in the currency of ideas. You know, I have an idea. I don't give a fuck about your idea. I have 1,000 ideas a day before like I go to sleep at night, literally. Everything about the idea is around the execution, not the idea. I could have thought of Facebook and I could have sat on it for 20 years and done nothing, and nothing would have happened. So it is 100% down to how you execute, and if you do it or if you don't. And I don't care, no offense, if you have a daytime job. I don't care if you work on weekends. I don't care if you have kids and a job. If you want to do it, you just have to prioritize it. If you don't want to do it, also very happy with that. If you want to concentrate on your children, if you want to concentrate on your job, and you want to be at the best at what you want to be, then hundreds, then appreciate that and love that. But don't moan about not being able to build your own thing on the side. I don't want to hear it, you know, because I built Slayer as a side hustle. I did it when other people were sleeping. I did it at night and I did it on weekends. Literally was the time that I used to be able to build the thing. So I don't take the excuse that I don't have enough time. I only hear I have not prioritized it. That is the only thing I hear when people say that. So it is 100% a determining factor on whether you will succeed or not.
Okay, and then how do you prioritize that this is something you have to do, or this is something you want to do, and this is not something really that you want to do or you're going to take action in? So how do you measure that? Okay, this is the thing, or this is not the thing.
Depends on the person, right? If you think about it, different people operate in different ways. I'm personally very lucky that when I talk about something in general, I do it. So I measure my actions in that regard. A lot of it is in terms of how you evaluate what's important to you, right? Priorities are always around how you evaluate what's important to you. You're like, oh, I'm fat, but I'm eating a cupcake. You know, okay, there's a direct correlation between those two things. You know, it's more likely you're going to get diabetes because you're eating a lot of cupcakes, but you're not prioritizing the fact that you shouldn't eat cupcakes because it's not as important to you as you think it is. So, in my mind, deep diving into oneself is probably the best possible thing that you could do, you know? And sometimes we say that something's important to us. It's not that important to us. You know, if we start listing, how often do people journal? Do they just get the shit out of their head and write it down? How often do they do a prioritization session with themselves? They go, these are my kids. This is first. Number one, my family. Number two, my business. Number three, or my job. Okay, let me see if I can reprioritize those and do that, you know. Then the other part is, if you're lying to yourself about the prioritization, you will very quickly see that because you're eating the cupcake. Because it takes a level of discipline to be able to go, okay, I'm now going to maintain this as my true north. I'm going to maintain the fact that it's going to hurt. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. The only thing about life that I can tell you that is an absolute 100% certainty is that it's always going to be bad and it's always going to be good. It's going to have both. It's this beautiful little graph. It goes like this. You're at the top of the world and your mother dies. You know, you're at the bottom of the world and all of a sudden you've picked up and you've done something again. Like everyone is going to have shit. It is a foregone conclusion. The depth of our shit varies, but it's relative. My shit is as hard as your shit. You know, everyone's shit is as hard as everyone else's shit. But the thing is, different people deal with it in very different ways. So quite often they shut it out. They don't deal with it. They don't deep dive into themselves and go, okay, what is my shit? What is causing it? Oh, I was beaten as a child. What am I going to do about it? How do I figure out my way around that? I'm going to go see a psychologist. After I go see a psychologist, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. You might never get better, and that's also okay. But still, there's a path to be able to do something, you know? The part where you alluded to a plan, I love plans. I love spreadsheets. I love one-page strategic plans. I really enjoy planning and strategy as an individual. But wasn't it the Navy SEALs that said, no plan survives first contact?
Yeah. Yes.
You know, if I remember correctly, it's something along those lines. So have a plan, but be very willing to be nimble when you're actually implementing that plan. To go back to your point, I think it takes a little bit of discipline when it comes to prioritization. I'm going to say one more thing. Very often people use the word passion. They go, oh, I'm passionate about what I do, means I'm never going to work another day in my life. Bullshit. You're going to work a lot of other days in your life. Lots. And I guarantee you, even though you love what you're doing, you're still going to have shitty days, hard days, cuck days, days where you don't want to wake up in the morning, days where you're thinking, I'm going to off myself because this person is causing this much cuck. It is how it works. But you need to have the love for the thing that you do to be able to keep you through it. So the root of the word passion comes from the Latin word meaning to suffer. To suffer. That is what the word means. You need to be able to suffer for what you love to be able to do it. None of this airy fairy, oh, it's so easy to do because I love it. Cool, love it. I love what I do. I absolutely love how I do it, but I have no illusions that it's going to be shit hard.
And on that, you mentioned a lot discipline, and now you mentioned passion. And how do you think those two things correlate with each other? Because you're disciplined to do things that you normally do not want to do. But now that you say passion is actually something that you want to do, but there's also suffering. So do you think discipline and passion goes hand to hand with each other?
I think so. I think it would be nice to do a little mathematical formula of the two, just to go, how do they correlate between each other, and how much do they speak to each other, and in what areas do they? But I definitely think that they do go hand in hand. I think the passion makes the discipline a little bit easier. So if you're really enjoying what you're doing, it makes the fact that you need to do it over and over a little bit easier. But the discipline helps on the days that you're struggling. You know, you could be an amazing artist. You love doing art. You paint every day. You're making money from painting every day. But I don't know, you have 3 days, or you have a week or 2 months. Something's happened. Someone's got cancer in your family. You can't paint anymore. Now you have no income. There's no money coming in. You don't know how you're going to pay your rent. You're sitting in a situation where you're going, shit, I don't know how I'm going to do things. You're still passionate about art. You still love art. But now you're sitting in a situation where you're going, I can't pay my rent. I'm not sure how I'm going to eat this month. They might kick me out. But I have no money because I haven't worked for 2 months. I'm a product of my circumstances because something happened to me, and now I'm in the situation that I'm in. That stuff happens to everyone. I hate to tell you. I hate to say that you're not the only one that shit happens to. And that's where discipline kicks in. I think individuals that are more successful, and I'm not talking about monetary success, I'm talking about success. I don't care if you're a ballerina, a sprinter, an artist, an author, a doctor, a nurse, whatever you are and whatever you do well, I think those individuals quite often have a level of discipline when they get to those areas that they know how to. You don't even have to bounce out of it. Just figure your trajectory of how you're going to get out of it, because you can't stay there. That is an absolute certainty. If you stay there, everything's going to fall to pieces. So you yourself, and yes, you can have the support of family members, of friends, of loved ones, of all the individuals that are close to you. And that's a beautiful thing. I have had support from individuals in my whole existence at different places. But the ultimate decision is still mine, right? I'm the one that has to get myself out of that bottomless pit, because often we're sitting in this huge hole, huge hole. We don't know how to get out of it. We're looking everywhere, but there's a ladder right in front of us. And that ladder often is action, discipline, and effort. Often, not always. I'm giving you my perspective of life. Everyone has a very different perspective. But in my mind, whenever I'm at my most stressed, action helps me get out of it. Like at 17 years old, I was throwing up 12 to 15 times a day, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. They had no idea. Went to every doctor, went everywhere. I had no medical aid. I went to Joburg General. It was 18, actually, 17 and a half, 18. I can't remember. Joburg Gen for 3 weeks. I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. Eventually, it took an intern to be able to go, I think this child is stressed. Sent me to a psychologist. I remember this lady to this day, amazing Jewish lady. And she was like, let's try and unpack what the story is. And what she figured out with me, my personal issue, was I didn't identify I had problems. I just tried to steamroll them. I would literally just steamroll whatever was in my existence to do it. And she was like, listen, dude, it's coming out in your body. She didn't say it like that, but this is the synopsis. That's the 4 ways version of it. She was like, listen, dude, it's coming out in your body. You need to identify your problems and then deal with them. And that lesson took me 4 sessions with an amazingly bright individual. And I've never puked again. Never. And I literally was puking for months, like at that situation. So how people deal with stress is also a huge determining factor on how they will be able to succeed. And often you can't do it all on your own. It's you need the support of other individuals. We've been brought up. Now, thank goodness, there's a lot more talk around mental health and a lot more people open to chat about it. And, people don't feel bad going, I'm feeling cock, is the story. Whereas before, with our baby boomer generation, I'd go to my mom, I'd be like, Mom, I'm not feeling so good. And she'd be like, bah, in the face, pull yourself towards yourself, suck it up, buttercup, go do your shit that you need to do. We've changed a little bit as a society. Not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
Okay, and then how do you measure success? Because as you said previously, success is not always monetary, and everybody wants to see success as having a lot of money, having a big home, but that is not necessarily success. And I've talked to a guy, when was it, on Thursday, and he also said being successful is not normally getting in money, but doing the thing that you plan to do and doing that correctly. What is your take on that?
It's a really interesting question. My first protocol is different people determine success in different ways, right? So I think success might be linked to achievement. I'm thinking out loud here in my mind. In my mind, success is linked to a level of achievement. So if I say that I'm going to do something and I achieve that thing, it unlocks the next level, So if I'm running and I have a 5K goal and I've hit 5Ks, I've achieved a huge level of success. I've also increased my confidence in myself because I've set myself a goal. I've run 5 kilometers. Then my personality, I'm going to run 10 kilometers. Unlock that next level of success. I'm successful because I've run 10 kilometers and I have achieved that. And I think success can be cumulative in people's minds. So achieving in little things and big things. I think achieving in little things is as important as achieving in big things. I can't remember, was it David Goggins or one of them was saying, always make your bed in the morning because then you wake up with a clear win, like you've won, you've succeeded, you've made your bed and you're moving on. Cool. Very cool philosophy. Really dig that. You've had a level of success in that. Now, the way people determine success, the way a ballerina determines success is very different and similar to the way a neurosurgeon determines success. The one, you die if they do it incorrectly. Slip of the hand, Oak's fucking dead. Is what it is. The other one, maybe, they need to be on stage performing on an international level, and that's how they determine their success. So I think for me, success is relative, but I do think a really important thing is that the success needs to be determined by you and not your peers and not your society and not the people around you. You must determine your success. You must go, this is what makes me feel successful. Personally, my level of success, a couple of things. I like making people laugh a lot. It's my joy. It's what I do. If I am making people laugh around me, I feel very successful. If I'm able to walk into a room and quite quickly poke at structures which we wouldn't talk about in the beginning, whether it's politics and religion and all these things. And I walk straight in and I just go, ah, and very quickly I stimulate a conversation and people are talking and they're going, oh shit, it's not as bad. And your point of view is pretty cool. And that's quite lacquer, and we do it by poking fun at each other. One, poking fun at ourselves. Two, poking fun at each other. Huge success for me. Huge. Love it. Like I have my own goals, obviously physically in terms of what I do with my exercise and stuff. And in my business, I have very set metrics. Like that is my level of success. Now, it has to be monetary only because the business requires capital to grow and build. My level of gauging my success in my businesses is how is it growing? Now, that's not necessarily do I drive a Ferrari? I don't drive a Ferrari. I don't have a Ferrari. I can't afford a Ferrari. Let's just be clear, But it wouldn't also reflect on my level of success. My level of success with Slayer, two. One, I look at it like a risk map. I want to see Slayer in every single country on the planet, and I will not rest until that happens. Two, when I see arbitrary people with a Slayer in their hands and they're like, this thing's fucking amazing, or they're posting it on like the web or on Instagram all over the place, they're going, check how cool that is. That's my level of success, you know. But those are very personal. Are they linked to money? They have to be. You need cash flow. You need cash. You need a profitable business to be able to grow a business unless you're funded. And if you're funded, that's also okay. But at some stage, you need to make profit. If you don't make profit, you close. There's no money left. So I have to concentrate on the cash in the business to be able to do that. Karen and I ask ourselves quite often, we go, because Slayer is going to be a business, and this is just no jokes. We're talking R1 billion business plus. I will not rest until that happens. And we know there's going to be so much money in this business, we're not going to know what to do with ourselves. What is our goal? We talk about our goal often. Changes all the time, but the most likely goal for both of us is we want a house in the mountains. We just want to be away from everywhere. Beautiful forest, house in the mountains, go for a walk every day, go for a run every day, meditate, spend time with each other, read a fuckload, have people come visit us, which are close family and friends. And for me personally, have young or middle-aged, I don't care, just have entrepreneurs coming to me, pitching their ideas, going, this is how I like doing things. This is what I think. Me dismantling their very existence as the first meeting to go, no, never, not going to happen. And then by second meeting, them coming back and going, here's a very revised plan that's quite a lot more realistic, and potentially being able to invest some money in them, help them, coach them. If I wasn't in my own business, I would be a teacher. Not even a doubt in my mind. I love teaching. And for me, my skills obviously orientate towards small and medium businesses because I've built them. So, you know, I've worked with Wits where we deal with their post-grad engineers, and they do business plans, and I normally take them, dismantle them, put them back together for them. So everyone's level of success is different. I think the one takeout I would say from that is determine your own success as opposed to letting your peers or your society determine your success for you.
Okay. And then as well, you mentioned a lot of times now having people in your life and having a support system. How important do you think that support system is for you and your success and your business's successes?
So let me start with a story, as I've done with everything else, right? COVID, we had no revenue in our coffee business, nothing. So a third of our business was supplying corporates, a third of our business was supplying restaurants, a third of our business was supplying franchisees that bought coffee from us. Franchisees scattered to the wind. All of them still owe us money, pretty much all of them. I've left them alone. So corporates weren't buying from us, and restaurants were completely closed. So we had zero revenue, zero. At this stage, I was single and I had 3 dogs. And I was so dick in debt, I didn't even know what to do with myself. So what I did, and this was the weirdest thing you'll hear, I got the FNB COVID loans. I don't know if you remember those COVID loans that we all still paying off, is the story. And for 3 months, I didn't work. I stayed at home. It was over that lockdown period where it was me and 3 dogs. That was it. No one else. It was probably one of the best times of my life. I ran, I meditated, I journaled, I did self-work, I did deep work. I went into some shit in the head that I didn't want to go into, you know, and I did all of this stuff to assist me because I enjoy it regardless. And I had 3 months of a break. And that put me in a position where I think I had done enough self-work to bring individuals into my life that are hugely supportive. So like Karen, who is my far better half now, not only my business partner, but my better half, she's been obscene support in my existence. And we laugh because I've gone from a house that looks like Sparta. It was fucking Sparta, like it's a bachelor's single pad, looks like Sparta, sleep on the floor. If you get cold, put a fucking piece of wood on you, type scenario. Now there's cushions everywhere. Like everywhere. Like we have a new rule in the house. One cushion enters, one cushion leaves is our plan of action. It's our rule. It's how it works. But the support factor that I got from her and have from her now has been very interesting for me, because most of my existence I've been on my ace. Not that I've had other people in my life that have been very supportive and done, but most of the time it's been like Dennis against the world. It currently feels a little bit more like I have a partnership against the world, and that's huge. Obviously, for different individuals, they deal in different ways. So I think a support system, like my family, my friends who are always encouraging, all these people have meant huge amounts to me. And just the fact that they drop you a little message on Facebook to say, hey, I've seen, you're doing proper stuff with Slayer. Stuff like that is highly motivating. I don't care like who you are. There's some ego in what we do, right? Like there has to be ego. And that little like endorphin of going, hey, you're doing really well, is a good thing. So what I would say as a take home from this side of it is, if you have people in your life in whatever capacity, don't ever forget to just drop a little, hey, you're doing really well, or hey, well played for this, or hey, do that, because that could mean the absolute world to them. And you don't know when that message will be taken and used in a way that you don't even understand.
Okay. And you also mentioned you had suffered from a lot of stresses and mental health issues a bit when you were younger. How do you overcome them and how do you deal with them now?
So, I mean, lots of stuff. I mean, I was doing panic attacks at one stage where I'd be literally sucking my thumb, thinking I'm going to die alone in the house, not knowing how I'm going to deal with stuff, like no clue how to deal with it. And yet again, I think the really important stuff is see someone that is brighter than you. My protocol with psychologists personally is I really need a very smart psychologist. Not that I'm the most clever person on the planet, but otherwise I can run rings around them, and that's not cool, So obviously pick the person that suits you, in my mind. The way I deal with my stress, exercise, huge. Like the more I train, the better it is. The more serotonin, the more endorphins. Like it's a moving meditation. My brain can slow down when I'm in heavy endurance. When I'm doing weights, I'm like, boring, boring, boring. But when I'm like about ready to die and throw up, whether it's in a run, whether it's in the middle of a WOD, whether it's in whatever, I am in a moving meditation. So that is one huge part of my stress, personal stress management. 2, journaling. I call it emotionally vomiting in a book. Just write shit down, anything that's in my head, This is stressing me. This is a problem. This is what I did. Oh, I love this person. My dog's so cute. Oh, I like chicken wings on Sundays. But I literally just emotionally vomit on a page. And then I read it afterwards. And I'm like, oh, okay. Gives you a very objective opinion of your own shit. 3, I speak to people. I don't hold shit in. You've already seen I've spoken to you about stuff. I've never met you, and I'm not proud. I don't need to be proud and go, I don't have problems. I talk to people, so and I like getting into real conversations. So not just the peripheral useless shit that everyone talks about, the deeper stuff, so I will share, they will share, and just by the fact that we're sharing, that's a huge way to be able to deal with stress. I don't have to carry it all on my own. I'm not equipped to carry it all on my own. None of us are equipped to carry it all on our own. I don't care who you are, who you think you are. So people need to develop their own ways to deal with their stress. Step one is identify that you have it. Step two is experiment, test, and measure on what works for you, right? Speaking to people works for me. Journaling works for me. Exercise works for me. These weren't the things I started with. They're the things that I've developed over 20 to 30 years to be able to help me do and manage my stress. Because operating a business or running a business, I've been through stages many times in my life where you're going, I don't know how I'm going to pay my staff. I don't know how I'm going to pay myself. I've got creditors phoning me saying, where's my money? Pay me now. And you're sitting at the end of the month and you're going, fuck, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do this. And I'm just now, one, I have never missed a payment to any of my staff in my life. They are the first people I pay, always, is what it is. Often I've missed payments to myself for months at a time, if not years. This I'm very good at. But to go back to the point of how we manage our stress, I think it really is around you identifying that you have it, to figuring out your own best way, but critically talk. You have to talk. Like, no matter how bad your stuff is, and there's some fairly sick shit out there, let's be clear, the fact that you can talk about it will make it better. If you want to start with a psychologist first, do that. But you have to talk. It's the only way to deal with it.
Okay, you mentioned you always pay your staff first. How important is it for you to have staff relying on you and being able to trust you, and then you can also trust them and knowing that you will look after them and they will look after you then as well? How important is that to you and also to growing business?
Two sides. One, I'm a cynical middle-aged white guy currently. I have been stolen from in so many businesses, you can't even understand. Closed 2 shops because they stole 1.2 million rand from me. And that happened. I paid people better than their salaries. I incentivized them so that they could make more money in principle. I empowered them. I gave them the rope. I coached them. I did everything I could. And they found out they could steal more than they were able to get through proper incentives. That burnt me. And that's happened to me often in my life. And I think there's a happy medium. I think there's a happy medium between being the nice guy, which is generally what I am, and being strict in terms of what you require and where you are. One, obviously, depending on the caliber of the individuals that you're dealing with in the business that you're in. Where I am with Slayer, we're not going to be doing production. We're not manufacturing. We're not distributing. I'm not going to be the guy watching out whether the 2 drops of syrup are inside there. We own our recipe. We contract package. They can have the 400 staff, the 500 staff, the 1,000 staff in principle. Me, I want to have a smaller, leaner team of motivated individuals that I can coach, help, work with, grow, get them literally to become absolute beasts. And that is obviously also a higher LSM individual. They'll normally come at a higher salary. So they're not on the breadline. They don't have to steal something to be able to live. Not that my other guys were, but it was, you're earning 30 to 40,000 rand a month compared to 7 to 10. There's a very big difference in those 2 things. The importance of my team, the most important thing to me. There is nothing more important, because my team is what's going to determine the difference between success and failure in any business that I'm in. It's that simple. Currently, Karen and I have done everything. We built the website ourselves, literally, to give you the logo ourselves, everything ourselves. We've done it because we've been able to test and measure, check, see what's happening. How do we go? What's the feedback we're getting? How do we do it? We've had volunteers that have come and helped us that are going, we just want to be involved with Slayer. We've had Paige, who is our affiliate manager. She's worked for no money. For the last year, literally, she's worked for no money because she loves what she's doing and she's in it. We haven't been able to pay her yet. When we're there, all of a sudden she gets a salary, she feels better, life is good, but we've empowered her, we've helped her, we've coached her, we've built her. These things are very important to me in my mind. So, and you have no idea. I've had over 2,500 applications of individuals that want to work with us with Slayer. We're constantly getting people going, how can we help? What can we do? So it's really more our ability to say no than our ability to say yes that's going to define us currently. But short answer is team is everything for me. It's everything.
Okay, then let's talk a bit about Slayer. And that is, how old is Slayer now? How old is that business now?
Not even a year yet. It's a year in September.
Okay. And why did you create it? Why did you say, okay, I want to start a new energy drink brand? Because there is already an energy drink brand, or actually a few in South Africa.
Yes.
What said, okay, I want to do this, and this is mine, and this is the route I'm going to take.
So Karen knew for a long time that I wanted to create a brand where I was able to test assumptions and have fun. So the underlying premise of Slayer is that I get to do whatever the fuck I want to do. That is the absolute underlying premise of this whole business. That is its biggest reason to exist. Sounds weird, sounds egotistical, sounds maniacal, probably a little bit of all of the above, so be a little scared, which is not a bad thing. But the trick to it is that we can do whatever we want. So I don't care about fonts. I don't care about colors. The only reason we're keeping our logo the same is because someone has already tattooed it to their body and they hadn't even tasted the energy drink before they'd done that, just as an example. So we were just wanting to test and measure everything. Take the marketing textbook, chuck it out the window, try something completely different. See if it works. Test, measure, iterate, have some fun. Now, the energy drink category is a really great place to be able to do that. Everyone is doing things exactly the same way. Exactly the same way. Go look at any energy drink company and it's copy paste. It's boot marketing. It's the same shit over and over and over. And that's why people are like, you're getting into the energy drink business. You're going to die. I'm like, no, we're not. We're not going to do it the same way as everyone else and then let them die afterwards. We're doing it very differently. In fact, we're taking a little bit of the lessons in how craft beer approached the big guys in being able to do that. We're more nimble, we're quicker, we can do things. A board decision is made in the toilet in this house, is how it works. We can come up with an idea and we can have it out the next day. All these other companies can go to we can do shit. The underground car meets, they'll arrive with 2 million rand cars, 4 million rand cars. We don't have 4 million rand cars. I can do an ice cream truck. I'm going to go buy an ice cream truck. I'm going to put an evil cloud on the side of it. I'm going to put free candy on the outside. And then when we arrive, it's going to be like, doot, 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 doot. It's going to freak the shit out of you. Our competitors can't do that. They need 15 middle-aged white guys to be able to sit in a boardroom to be able to go, oh, maybe we should be able to do this. We will sponsor this guy as the story. That's not happening to us. So a big part of what we're doing is to just have a shitload of fun. Our whole slogan, death to dull, like destruction of dull. We don't want dull. We want fun. We want different. We want unique. We want to challenge. We want to be outside. We want the people that we're with to be able to be outside of their comfort zone. That's a thing. The other underlying factor, I always wanted a cult. I now have a cult. So fun. It's amazing. We have all these individuals that absolutely love our product. They are maniacal around their fanaticism for our product. It makes me very happy inside. It makes me sleep beautifully at night. And this is literally just the beginning. So we're obviously going to cause a little bit of trouble with a few different competitors in different ways. Obviously, they're going to come at us. We know this. It is what it is. We're small. We're able to be very nimble about what we do and how we do things. When we get bigger, we will probably become them. We'll probably also have 15 people in a room with suits and ties that are going to need to decide what the color of our next uniform is, but that's still a very long time to come. So that, and also on the strictly business side, I've been in coffee for a long time. Very niche market, niche on niche, roast and ground coffee. There's not, the whole of South Africa cannot afford and drink roast and ground coffee. We have 60 million people in this country. They don't drink roast and ground coffee. They drink Frisco predominantly, or they drink tea. And I'm tired of selling a product to 1 million people or 2 million people. Not that I'm selling to all of them, otherwise I'd be retired. I'm just talking about the addressable market is what it is. Energy drinks sells to everyone. I can sell one all the way down to all the way up in terms of the LSM. And that has been a big part of how we've positioned Slayer. We're building a brand with multiple personality disorder. You must never know what's coming next, ever. Like, that is the whole trick to it. One of the other things was on my screen, my wallpaper of my laptop before I started Slayer was a statement I had seen from Naval Ravikant. If you've never heard his podcast, find him. He's fucking awesome. He's a businessman and a philosopher, insane. And one of the things that he said in one of these podcasts was the only way to escape the competition is through authenticity. Now, like anything in life, really simple message. The deeper you dig into it, the more complicated it becomes, and the more we unpack it. But in my mind, a lot of what we've built with Slayer has been abundant authenticity. Can people try copy us tomorrow? Yes, they can. But by the time they copy us, we're going to be doing 15 other things that they've never done before. They can't keep up with us. Impossible. Go find someone that does it. I'll be very impressed. I seriously will be very impressed. So I don't care about how the other companies come at us. I don't care about them in the slightest. All I know is that we're constantly going to be creating different and new shit. We're the first guys in the country to launch a subscription box, energy drink. No one else has done that. We've done it. First guys maybe in the world to do a base mixer in a can with separate flavors on the side to be able to make your own flavors. One of the first guys in the country, if not the first, I haven't seen them, to be doing an energy drink on draft tap. We've done this and we're not even a year old, Like, we've done shit that other people can only hope for.
How can I get hold of one of those gigs?
Yeah, you can't, is the short answer. We're launching with our ready to drinks first. Our mission was launch direct to consumer with a subscription box, create hype, create user-generated content, which means our cult creates the content. They go out, they get their surprise can, they go, oh, it's amazing. They post content for us, they send it to us, we post it on our feed. How it works. So we're now in talks with BP to list with them nationally. We've just started conversations with food lovers to list with them nationally. That changes our whole business, because now we sit in a situation where we'll be exposed and on the shelf, and people will be able to get our product from wherever. And that's our intention in terms of how we're going to grow for future.
Okay. And so you said I cannot get a cake anyway. That's not possible for me to order one.
Sorry, I didn't answer that. Let me. We will launch into bars and restaurants when we've achieved our ready to drink on the shelf. And then kegs will become more available. Then we'll be able to see. Obviously, with a keg, you need a draft machine as well, right? So that is your barrier to entry. You require a draft machine to be able to pull a keg. So do you have a draft machine, Yaku?
I'll find one.
I'll find one. Okay, I'll tell you what. You go find a draft machine. I'll see if I can get you a keg.
Okay, that's a deal. That's a deal.
Deal.
Okay. And then how did you get into the formulation of the energy drink? And you have to put in caffeine, you have to get the flavors, especially the flavors, because every energy drink has unique flavors. They have their own flavors. And how did you get your unique flavors, and how How did you get into testing them, into tasting them, into producing them?
So
What
we
is the
work
process with
closely
that?
with a formulation expert that created the product for us. He initially was our partner, but we have subsequently purchased his shares in the business. But everything, like I'd said before, test and measure. So we would be sitting there twice a week, every week. Here's a new batch, taste it. Here's a new formulation, taste it. Are you crashing? Aren't you crashing? How are you feeling about it? What does it taste like? Should we up this? Should we take this down? So we were constantly, it took us 8 months, 7, 8 months of backwards and forwards to formulate our specific recipe. And then what we do now, because we have our base mix and our syrups, we go to events. So we'll go to like a Comic-Con or a Rage. We set up our draft unit. We have all our different flavors over there, and we mix and match these flavors, and we let people taste on the fly. Literally, we go, okay, what do you want? You want a bubblegum passion fruit, cola, and blueberry, And we make the shit up, and then they taste, and then we're able to figure out what our next flavor is going to be, because not only do we know if it tastes good to us, but we know if it tastes good to people. So that has been a big part of how we formulate our new flavors going forward. New recipes, we'll definitely be working with other formulators because we have a trajectory of more products. We're not only going to be doing energy drinks. I want to do hydration beverages. I want to get into functional beverages. But functional beverage and taste good is very difficult because normally a functional beverage tastes like shit, unfortunately. It's like you put good stuff in something and it tastes cuck. That's why people don't like Brussels sprouts, It's good for you, but it doesn't taste very good, So that is quite difficult, but definitely part of our trajectory. And also nutritional supplements, because the brand Slayer just works really well there. We're very clear. We're not a health drink. We're a death drink. It's a big fucking difference, Like all these guys are going, oh, we're energy drinks. We're healthy for you. Bullshit. They're not healthy for you. They are not healthy for you. We are not healthy for you. It's like what happens is, like anything in life, everything in moderation. If you have something in moderation, you're fine. If you have 50 tequilas, you're either going to fall down and die, drive into someone. You shouldn't drink and drive, kids, or get into a fight with yourself in a mirror, But if you have one tequila, you're going to be fine, hopefully, in principle. So everything in moderation in my mind. What we do have in our formulation is we're sugar-free. So we have no sugar, which is cool. Quite a lot of research out on taurine lately, it going from it being the devil into, it could extend life, interestingly enough. So there's been some interesting information there. The efficacy of the vitamins is interesting for me. It's a conversation I constantly have, how effective are these vitamins in their drinks? I think they probably work, but not that well in my mind. I think your biggest determining factors in the drinks that all of us energy drinks supply is the caffeine inside it and the taurine inside it. Those are probably the two biggest determining factors. But we also do feel good about ourselves because we don't do sugar. And that's better because if you're going to crush 7 drinks in a day, you don't want to be having that much sugar. You don't want to do 7 drinks in a day, just so that we're all clear. You probably want to do like 1, maybe, is how it works. We will do a sugar version at some stage. And I'll tell you why we'll do a sugar version. Because it'll be, 1, cheaper than our non-sugar version, weirdly enough, because we use erythritol, which is a very expensive sweetener. And in the lower LSMs, the sugar is actually energy. So they require the sugar on top of the taurine and the caffeine and stuff to give it the energy that it requires. So we might do it at some stage. We might not. We don't have to do anything. We can do whatever we want. So we'll decide when we get to that level in terms of what that looks like.
Okay, and then what is the next step of Slayer, and what is your next step? What is the next goal you want to achieve?
get it into I want to get it into BP and Food Lovers as a starting point, because when we're in retail, we're selling off the shelf, we'll know if our price point is decent. We'll know, like, there's a lot of stuff we already know. We know we have the best packaging on the market. No one can beat us. I don't care who you are. You go find another piece of packaging, it's not better than us. And that's not us saying it, that's our fans saying it. We know that we have one of, if not the best tasting energy drink on the market. And that, again, not from us, from our fans, from people going, it doesn't have that medicinal aftertaste of a standard energy drink. So we know all these things. Now we need to test them in actual retail. We're selling lots of boxes online, lots. People are buying them all the time. They love them. They're rebuying them. They love our boxes. We're selling some in small retailers like vape stores, nutritional companies, but small, like only a couple of outlets. We've been testing. Now we see what it's going to look like in actual retail. Nice thing is that people collect cans in the energy drink business. So they're going to buy one just to collect it because our packaging is so good. Then we need to convince them that it tastes good enough for them to buy the second. That's our immediate goal. I have some personal goals. One is I want to see a black can with a black lid, which has the number 777 on it, which was the years I was born, year and month. So that will happen at some stage. That's personal goal. The other one is I want to see an interlink, which is those big trucks that have, it's linked. They've got two things with Slayer branding on the side of it. That's a huge goal of mine. And the other one is, and this will take a lot longer, 1 million followers on across social media. Those are some of my very short-term goals before we get to the bigger stuff.
Okay. And where can people find you? What is your website? And what is your social media? How can they order the product? Please give us all of that.
Cool. SlayerEnergy.com is the website. That's where you can purchase all our boxes. We spent the whole day yesterday, Karen and I, actually refining the website, changing things. She's busy on it at the moment. So, again, just taking what our users have said, what our fans have said, and gone, change this, play with that. So SlayerEnergy.com, not .co.za, is the website. But also, if you don't know how to use Google in this day and age, you should probably off yourself. And that is, you just put Slayer Energy into the Google bar. There's a big bar, it says Google, and then you just push Slayer and Energy inside it. And that pretty much gives you fucking everything. We do have Slayer Energy Drink Instagram. That's probably our biggest social platform. We have Slayer Drink on Twitter. We have Slayer Energy on TikTok. But literally, all of these are on Google as well as on our website. What's quite weird was while we tapped in Slayer Energy on Google the other day, and where it says people also ask, that section below, goes, the first question was, who owns Slayer Energy Drink? And then you open, it's got my LinkedIn page. I'm like, oh, fuck.
Oh, nice.
well, okay. Welcome to the interweb is the story, But Slayer Energy Drink, you won't be able to miss us. And if you don't use Google, maybe you should also, there's a serious problem, If you're using Bing, we judge you. We judge you really hard.
Okay. Denis, it was really a pleasure talking to you today. And thanks a lot for your time today. And please go and buy yourself a can or a box and go and follow and like and subscribe to all the social media, and also go and like and subscribe to this video. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Yaku. Appreciate it.